In today's video, we explore if the latest AI deep research tools can replace management consultants. We discuss how these tools perform complex research tasks, analyze data, and generate insights. Can they really replace or even partially replace some of the traditional services that management consultant companies like Boston Consulting Group, Deloitte, KPMG, PwC offer? Let's accelerate your business. Welcome to the AI Accelerator for Business show, where you get the latest strategies, tactics, and information about the business benefits of artificial intelligence. My name is Carl Ye, and I'm joined by my co-host Jeff Bradshaw. And today we're talking if AI can replace consultants. Now, Jeff, the reason why I brought this up is there was a lot of talk before about what consultants actually did. And there was actually a really funny clip from John Oliver about McKinsey. And I'll play that clip in a bit. But with the rise in AI, specifically deep research, with all these different AI labs, and they could potentially revolutionize the consulting industry because people don't necessarily need to have consultants, especially in the research component where they can use some of these tools for maybe $200 a month.
Well, absolutely, Carl. And I think, understanding the capability of the AI deep research tools is crucial for businesses to leverage the technology effectively, potentially reducing that reliance on traditional consulting firms and really fostering more efficient decision making on a day-to-day basis. And it could be $200 a month, but we know there's tools out there now that are actually free or $20 a month. They're pretty reasonable when you take a look at what's out there.
Okay, I'm just going to play this clip from John Oliver about McKinsey.
But even when they are troubleshooting existing problems, their bespoke solutions can be blindingly obvious. Just watch as one McKinseyite brags in a promotional video about the firm's ability to come up with unique solutions.
We were serving an energy client, and their problem was that they have offshore drilling rigs, and they had stacks and stacks of paper invoices that they would fly out to these rigs in the middle of the Gulf Coast in hurricane weather to have to get somebody to sign off and then helicopter back to headquarters. We brought in a team that had partners who were experts in the energy sector. We had partners who were experts in procurement as a function. And they were able to get together with our digital team and say, actually, we don't know if signatures are really required for this.
Yeah. No shit. I'm not sure it speaks that well of you that you needed the digital team and experts in the energy sector and procurement as a function, whatever the fuck that means, to get to the conclusion, why not send an email instead of a fucking helicopter?
But now I actually want to go a little bit deeper into the consulting practices, and I want to share some articles that I've recently seen. For most people, you've heard of DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, run by Elon Musk. And the big target that they have is obviously government spending, but a lot of that spending is for groups like the Boston Consulting Group, Accenture. We're talking about Deloitte as well, KPMG, some of the really big McKinsey that we've heard in the past. So the question I have is, can businesses start relying on AI to do some of the work that consultants are doing?
Carl, you and I are a little bit biased here because we are already doing it. We're pulling out reports for clients and for different industries using some of these deep research tools, and the results are absolutely amazing. And I think that, we've done some on the home building industry, the automotive industry. We've done stuff obviously on the AI technology space and others. And I think that the information that we're getting back is pretty amazing. These new AI deep research tools are thinking things through. It's not giving you that immediate answer like we were familiar with the initial versions of the large language models that were out there. They're actually thinking, and I think the fact that they're getting access to the web, it's coming back with some pretty amazing information. So my perspective on it is that I don't think it's going to completely replace consulting firms, but I absolutely think it's going to have a massive impact on what these consulting firms are going to be able to charge clients for the work that they're doing. And I also think that a lot of clients, whether it's government organizations or private corporations, are going to be able to start to do some of this research on their own for basic things where traditionally they may have had to go to a consulting firm.
Well, here's some examples of just two examples of things that we've done in terms of research. So the first one is for a potential group that we're working with, First Nations, I think Development Partnership, And we wanted to look at case studies where there's been indigenous cultural integration in urban development, right? So we wanted to look at where in North America has there been this development opportunity, and how do you work with that? The thing is, though, you know how long it would have taken us to find these case studies, right? We would have had to do a lot of searching, probably several hours, maybe a couple of days. This thing took 7 minutes and 36 sources to be able to do that, and all the research. Obviously, again, if you're using these tools, we don't know how much it can do, like from a hallucination perspective, accuracy of sources, so you do have to double check. But it gave the 3 examples that kind of we were looking for, right? And then provided really in-depth information based on content it pulled from of the case study we're looking for. Another example is what we did in terms of we were looking for consumer sentiment in the luxury car market for one of our potential prospects. And to be able to do this research, and I wanted it to go through social sites, forums, Reddit, Quora, again, taking hours and days, but you can see just the information provided and the quotes as well on different sites that I would have had to hire maybe a consultant to do this research. And I don't know how many thousands of dollars it would have cost to actually come up with a comprehensive report, something like this.
And the thing that these are missing is the subject matter expert and the person to actually go through all of those sources and read the report and put their twist on it and their perspective on it from their expertise. But I mean, I think, again, this is why I'm saying I don't believe it's going to completely replace consulting firms, but absolutely have an impact on the way that they charge. So, we take this one, for example, for Indigenous Development Corporation. We can give them the sources. They may have somebody internally who can then go through the resources and decipher the information and put their perspective on it. If it's a subject that isn't going to have a drastic impact on their bottom line. I mean, if it is a big report, you probably want to maybe look for some outside sources to be able to get a different perspective. But again, we're pulling these reports up in 7 minutes, and anybody could be doing this if they knew how to use these deep research tools. That's not a $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 consulting contract. That's maybe a $10,000 consulting contract. Tough to put dollars and cents on this. But again, some of the stuff we're pulling up is going to have a massive impact. But I also want to say as well, we're not trying to bash the consulting firms that are out there, because we're a consulting firm ourselves. I mean, a lot of the work we do, we develop AI applications, but we do a lot of consulting, but we're also using the tools, and our prices reflect that. And I think that's what's going to happen is that, again, some of these contracts might be shrunk down, or you might be able to do some of this research internally.
We talked about this too in another episode where we're talking about changing perceptions or expectations, where customers of consultants or any companies or any services that bill hourly or whatever the billing rate is, well, I could do that research, so how come you're not using AI tools? Or how come you're charging me for this much when I know you should have used AI, or you are using AI that I could have done? Why is it costing you? Why did you say it took 40 hours when I know it took maybe an hour or 2? Like, I think that's the change in expectation.
And again, this isn't just consulting. This is law firms, this is accounting firms, this is ad agencies across the board. I mean, you shouldn't be able to charge what we've been charging in the past because these tools are readily available. So again, we're not trying to bash any specific industry, but I think the fact of the matter is that we're trying to make the business world understand that these tools are out there. So maybe if you are a consulting firm, maybe you got to take a look at the way you offer your services, no different than we do. We realize that some of the services that we offer now in our business are going to be cannibalized by AI in the future. So we're constantly looking at how do we stay ahead and how do we advance our business to stay on top of it and still provide value to clients. And I think that, when it goes back to, we talk about hallucinations, like absolutely there's risks of hallucination, but a lot of the reports we pulled so far, I mean, from my standpoint, when they're pulling information from 36, 40, 60 resources, how is a consulting firm doing any different? How are they, they're going to be pulling from the same resources, whether it's previous articles, previous reports, conducting their own surveys, whatever it might be. But I mean, they're really pulling from the same kind of information that these deep research tools are.
I think the argument against that is you still have to, regardless of whether you use consultants or whether you use AI or a combination of the two, in the end, the client is supposed to be responsible enough to verify all the sources, verify that what the report they're getting is true, right? And that's why the number of sources, but also the increase of sources. Like, for example, Grok 3, it's not just pulling web resources, it's resources on X or Twitter, which so many of the things are kind of dubious or require critical thinking. But that also goes for web resources too, because a lot of people have different opinions and different takes, and you're just providing information there. So how could an AI truly verify what is accurate, factual, or related to the reports? Or maybe you don't want that. Maybe in your report you want a little bit of some sort of bias or opinion.
And I mean, again, that goes back to having those subject matter experts. So I mean, again, the consultant should be coming in, you can gather the information together. The consultant should be paid for putting their perspective on the information gathered, not paying them for 200 hours of work to gather the information, because that can be done for you now. And maybe it's more of a collaborative approach, you know, and again, I've seen it in my businesses in the past, that when you bring an outside person in to look at data, they can sometimes give you a new perspective, because sometimes you're too close to it. And that outside perspective is valuable. But again, that's something where consulting firms can change. I think the big concern, you know, when you take a look at it from a government standpoint, I think, well, government and even large enterprise. Fact of the matter is, we know that there's a lot of reports that are paid for that don't go anywhere, and the consumer, who ultimately is either an investor or a taxpayer, is flipping the bill for these things. And that's why I think that there needs to be some light shed on this stuff, so that twofold. A, as an investor or a taxpayer, you are able to know that you're getting the best value for your dollar and getting a good return on the investment. But I think also that you're getting that real value and using the technology that's available.
So couple of questions for our audience here is, one, how can if you're thinking of using these AI deep research tools, how can your organization integrate or use it to help with specific projects that you would have used a consultant on? And how can you verify its accuracy? And what are some of the potential risks if you just rely on it solely? And we do have to remember that even though it hallucinates today, this is the worst AI is going to be. So only in 3, 6, 8, 12 months, where is this type of deep research tool going to be, and how good is it going to get? Learn more about AI future business trends by watching these videos here. Enjoy today's episode? Want to learn how AI can impact your business? Then please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.